Hi guys, this is Samantha. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So first things first, before we jump into the video, I want to start off by saying that I apologize. I do not look my best at all. I've been trying to kind of let my skin breathe a little because I've been breaking out. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So as you guys saw by the title, you guys are probably here to listen to my story as to how I found out I was pregnant. So in the summer of July 2019, which was this summer, I was driving one morning. I was going to my current home address at the time to get ready for work. It was about 7 in the morning, no later than 7:15, when I was in a 2-lane road. It was a sunny morning, no traffic. There was like a car or two next to me, and I didn't really notice anyone behind me. So as I was slowing down to make a stop at the red light that was yellow at the time, I was yielding, but I was still really far. So obviously by the time I got to the light, it would be solid red. So of course, as I made my complete stop, the light was already red, and the only thing I remember in that moment is looking in my rear view mirror and seeing a truck behind me coming really fast. And I remember I was kind of like, oh my goodness, because it was coming in fast, and right then and there I just kind of knew that he wasn't going to be able to stop. So sure enough, he slammed into me, and all I remember is my car getting pushed so far forward. I remember hearing glass breaking and seeing like little glass crystals flying in the air, and my car being pushed forward due to the impact. And also, I don't know how familiar you guys are with manual transmission vehicles, which is what I was driving at the moment. I was in neutral, so of course with the impact, my foot was no longer on the brake, and due to the fact that I was already in neutral and the impact itself was already hard, I did get pushed forward by a lot. I passed the whole light. I was lucky enough that I was able to react and kind of try to steer my vehicle to the side so I wouldn't just be in the middle of the street. So I was able to kind of steer it in a median, if that makes sense. So with that being said, in that moment, I was freaking out. I was in complete shock. Of course, it was my first accident. I didn't know what was going on. I was crying, I was shaking, my adrenaline was bad. And I remember just looking in my rear view mirror and noticing cop lights behind the guy that hit me. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like there was a cop who saw the whole thing. And I was just kind of like crying, freaking out, waiting for him to come to me. So he did. And the first thing he said was, "Are you okay?" In that moment, I hadn't even checked my body. I hadn't looked at my face. I didn't know if I had cuts. I didn't know what was going on. So I was just like, I don't know. And he said, "Can you please give me your license and registration, your insurance?" So in that moment, like I said, I was just in complete shock, and my adrenaline was so bad that when I was trying to get the papers out of my glove compartment box to hand to the police officer, I could not. My hand was shaking so bad. I was literally like this, like trying to open my glove compartment box. And I remember I looked at him and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so sorry. And I couldn't even talk straight. And he said, no, he said, don't apologize. Like you were just involved in a pretty bad car accident. He was like, don't apologize. So I gave it to him, and he kind of just said, hang tight, I'll be right back. So he went back to the car, got my information, I guess. And in that moment, I was kind of like, okay, get it together, Sam. Breathe. Like, you need to call someone. So in that moment, Mom. I need to call my mom and let her know what's going on. So luckily, this was on a Friday morning, and Mondays and Fridays are her days off. So I was not expecting her to answer just because it was like no later than 7:15 in the morning. So I dialed her, and she picked up by like the second ring, and she said, "Hey, what's going on?" And I kind of just told her, "What do you mean, what's going on?" And she said, "Yeah." She said, it's early, like, you never call me this early, like, what's up?" And I just kind of took a deep breath, and she was like, "Sam, you're scaring me." And I just told her, "Don't freak out, but I just got in a car accident." And of course, as a mom, sorry guys, my camera cut out. Anyways, continuing where we left off. So of course she freaked out. She said, "Where you at? Are you okay? What happened? Are you hurt?" And I told her the crossroads I was at. I told her I would send her my current location. And she said, "Are you okay though?" I said, "Yes, I am okay. I am just in shock. My body feels tight. Like my neck hurts and my back hurts." But of course, I mean, in any accident, it's kind of harsh when you take a hit, let alone a rear view or a rear accident when the impact kind of like hits you from behind, causing you to get that whiplash. So I sent her my current location, and she was on her way. The police service aide he was a police service aide, not a police officer. He was kind of just coming back and forth between me and the other guy. And then he finally came, and he said, "Okay, like," he said, "I got paramedics on the way to check you just to make sure everything's okay. Tell me what happened from your perspective." And I said, "Okay." I told him exactly what I told you guys. I was just driving, slowing down, yielding to a light that was already going to turn red. And I told him that I was at the light for like a good 5 solid seconds before the truck slammed into me. And he just said, "Okay." He said, "The guy that hit you was trying to tell me that he was distracted by a couple on the side of the road, and that by the time he turned to your vehicle, he had already ran out of time to slam his brakes on." And I was kind of mad, of course, and I was just kind of laughing, and I told the officer, I was like, first of all, he should have been paying attention, because look what happened. I said I was not at fault whatsoever, and he told me that just by the hit alone, he knew that I wasn't at fault, so he told me to just kind of drink some water. I had a water bottle with me, luckily. Always carry water with you. So I had a water bottle with me, and luckily I was just kind of like drinking water and calming down. And he asked me if I had notified anyone. I told him that my mom was on the way, and he told me just to hang tight. Paramedics were on their way. So finally, like no later than like 7 or 8 minutes after I talked to my mom, she got there. Right away she came to me, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, it's bad." And I know it was bad for her to kind of freak me out in that moment. And I just told her, like, I don't want to look at it. Like, I don't want to see how bad it is. And I finally stepped out of my car, and my legs felt so tight. My whole body just felt tight. And I remember I barely even peeked to the back of my car, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, my car. It's ruined, my car." And sorry guys, I'm getting heartburn. How many of you guys know the struggle? But I remember I was just so upset because I loved my car. My car was like my baby or whatnot, because it was what I worked hard for. So the paramedics got there, they're checking me, and they said all my vitals were good, and they offered me a ride to the ambulance to get checked. They offered me a ride to the hospital to get checked. because of the neck pain and back pain that I was having. But in that moment, stubborn Samantha was so worried about what was going to happen with the car that I told them it was okay that I would just have my mom take me to the ER. So they accepted. I got my grandpa to call his friend who has a tow truck company so they could tow my vehicle. Then me and my mom followed behind him. We had to go to the other place where my car was taken to. And let me just also mention, before we left the crime scene, well, not the crime scene, the car accident scene or whatever, we tried getting the other guy that hit me, we tried getting his license information and his insurance, and they didn't want to give it to us. So we asked the officer, because the police service aide had called like other officers, so other officers were there, and we asked the police officers like, can you help us get their information? They were very rude. They were just kind of like ignoring us, and then they said, oh, well, if they don't want to give it to you, like, they don't have to. So it's like, okay, like we're like, okay, whatever. So we go where my car's taken. I had to call my insurance to do the statement and everything, and my insurance said they were going to call me back and they were going to go get the car. So they gave us some time to get my personal belongings that were in the vehicle. Anything that I wanted to get, they recommended to get it all, just because it was a pretty bad hit. And I will be posting a picture of the accident either somewhere right here. I'll be posting a picture of my car and like how it hit. And my trunk was so packed. I had so many suitcases in my trunk that I think due to that, that's probably why my car didn't like squeeze in more. Just because I had it so fully like loaded. But okay, so whatever, that happened. We're leaving this place and we stopped by my grandma's real quick because my mom wanted to but she wanted me to eat something real quick just because I was on an empty stomach, and due to me being in shock and everything, I was kind of feeling a little dizzy. So we ate. Then she took me to the ER, and when we got to the ER, it was actually an urgent care at the hospital that I like going to. So we went there, and luckily when we got there, besides us, there was only one more person in there. So the nurses were really good. They asked me what happened, got my information, and they were really good. They got me in quick. So once they got me in, doctor had me change into a robe. She was just asking me what happened, had me do the basic like kind of physical type of thing where they have you like walk on your tiptoes, they have you like touch your feet and do like just the normal stuff. And I was just kind of telling her where I was having pain. So they gave me a muscle relaxant, and the doctor said that due to the fact that it was a pretty bad accident and I was rear-ended, she wanted to do some x-rays on my back just to make sure everything was okay. But she said that in order to do that, it was mandatory they did a urine test to make sure I wasn't pregnant. And she asked me, she said, are you pregnant? I said no. And she asked me when my last period was. I told her, and she said, have you gotten your new one? I said no. And she said, okay. She said, but you're not pregnant. I said nope. So she just told me to hang tight. They had to do the urine test first. So they had already given me the muscle relaxer shot that was like on my hip. So at this point I was already getting sleepy because it had already been like more than 30 minutes since the doctor had left the room. So me and my mom were getting kind of bored and impatient. I was getting sleepy, and my mom on the other hand was just saying like how long they were taking and that it was weird that they were taking forever. So finally I'm falling asleep. About an hour later, the doctor comes in the room, and she was very serious. And I kind of just woke up, but I didn't really think nothing of it. I was like, okay, cool, like time for my x-rays. And she asked my mom to leave the room, and my mom freaked out. She was like, no, like, why? Like, I'm her mother, like why do I need to leave the room? And the doctor told my mom, I understand that you're her mother, however, your daughter is now 18 years old, so she is able to make decisions for herself. And with that being said, if she wants to tell you, she could tell you herself. But in the meantime, you do need to exit the room. So my mom was freaking out. I could see it in her face. I was freaking out too, because I knew something was wrong, or else she wouldn't have made my mom leave. So I kind of just really like opened my eyes, like, okay, like what's going on? And the doctor just said, so you know how we had to do that urine test to make sure you weren't pregnant before doing your x-rays? And I said, yes. She told me, well, it came back positive. And in that moment, I was laying down, remember. I literally shot up from the bed so fast, and I was like, what? And she said, yes, you are pregnant. And hearing those words come out of her mouth, I instantly was in shock. I did not start crying, surprisingly. And I just started going crazy. I started asking questions. I was like, okay. I was like, I just got in a car accident. Like, how far along am I? Like, are you sure I'm pregnant? And she said, yes. She said, your urine test came back positive. She said, and due to when you had your last menstrual cycle, my best guess is that you can't be no further than 3.5 to 4 weeks. And I just started freaking out. I told her, I was like, I just got in a really bad car accident. And she said, I understand that. She said, let me give you some time to take in the information, because I know it's a lot to process. And she told me that she would check up on me in like 5 to 10 minutes, and if I was ready and if I wanted to, my mom could come back in the room. So I remember I was just freaking out. I kept repeating the words she told me, that I was pregnant. I kept repeating it. And I was just kind of going, like, my thoughts were going crazy, because I was so scared due to the fact that I was involved in the car accident. So finally the doctor peeks her head in, and I told her, okay, bring my mom in. And she says, okay. So my mom comes in, and before my mom even came back into the room, she texted me and she said, what's going on, Sam? And me being scared in the moment, because I was still trying to process everything, I lied, of course, and I said, it's actually really embarrassing, Mom. And she said, what's going on? And I said, the doctor told me I have a hemorrhoid on my butt. Like, okay, who's gonna believe that? But in the moment, I was just so scared and nervous, so I told her that, but she didn't believe me. So finally she came back in the room, and before she even like fully sat down, she said, what's going on? And I kind of looked at the doctor like, help me out. And right away, like, my mom said, you're pregnant, aren't you? And I was just like, yep. And the doctor kind of like jumped in, because she knew that I just didn't want to talk, so she just kind of like stepped in for me, and she said that, yeah, that I was pregnant, that they did the urine test and it came back positive. And my mom kind of asked her the same questions I did, like, how far along is she? And the doctor told her the same thing. She told me that it couldn't be any further than 3.5 to 4 weeks. And she was just asking me like kind of like what my thoughts were, and she was so nice. She was so nice and patient with me, and she just told me like, I understand that you're trying to process the accident and now this. She was like, so take your time, like ask questions. And she told me that she would give me a list of clinics to try to schedule as soon as possible for an appointment for prenatal care, if that's what I was planning on doing. And I told her yes. So she gave me the list. She also gave me my discharge papers, and she said that due to me being pregnant, the x-ray obviously wasn't going to take place or none of that. So yeah, that kind of all happened. That whole day I was going crazy because I was processing two very big life changing like news and situations at the same time. So yeah, at the moment when I was with my boyfriend home that night, I was just really quiet. I just kind of told him I wasn't really in the mood to talk. I just want to watch a movie and go to sleep. And yep. But never in my mind did I ever want to not keep the baby. I knew from the start, okay, mom time. But yeah, that's my story on how it happened. And like I told you guys, I will be inserting pictures on my accident. Now I am currently 25 weeks and 2 days. 25 weeks and 2 days pregnant. So yeah, if you guys want to see more videos, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Give me suggestions if you guys want to see videos or updates. Feel free. I will also be dropping my Instagram name down at the bottom, so you guys could also follow me on Instagram. Feel free to DM me with suggestions for videos, or also feel free to let me know how you guys found out you're pregnant. Like I did say, I am 18. It's one crazy way to find out I'm pregnant, but here we are, 25 weeks and 2 days later. Thankfully, nothing happened due to the accident. So, yeah, guys, subscribe and stay tuned for more. Thank you.